Oh, the riches of this life. Oh, the ways we have been blessed. Oh, the poverty we own. In the things that we possess. You ask us to lay down all the treasure we have stored. For the treasure of your kingdom and a narrow road. With our eyes.
Last week, we talked about Jesus' own words and example in loving the poor. Today, we move on to the example and words of the Church Fathers. The Lexite begins this section with St. Lawrence, a deacon in Rome in the 3rd century. During a persecution of Christians, the Roman authorities demanded that Lawrence turn over the riches of the church. After 3 days, he presented the city's indigent, crippled, blind, and suffering, and declared that these were the treasures of the church. Here are the treasures of the church, you see. The church is truly rich, far richer than your emperor. As a result of this stunt, Lawrence was imprisoned and sentenced to death. You have to admire his courage and creativity. Would we have had his guts in the face of government officials threatening our lives? Do we Christians cherish the poor so much that we would put our lives on the line for them, as Lawrence did? The other saint I'd like to highlight this week is St. John Chrysostom, the Archbishop of Constantinople from the late 300s to the early 400s. He often exhorted the faithful to recognize Christ in the needy. Do you wish to honor the body of Christ, he asked? Do not allow it to be despised in its members, that is, in the poor who have no clothes to cover themselves. Do not honor Christ's body here in church with silk fabrics, while outside you neglect it when it suffers from cold and nakedness. The body of Christ on the altar does not need cloaks but pure souls, while the one outside needs much care. Let us therefore learn to think of and honor Christ as he wishes. For the most pleasing honor we can give to the one we want to venerate is that of doing what he himself desires, not what we devise. So you too, give him the honor he has commanded, and let the poor benefit from your riches. God does not need golden vessels, but golden souls. I don't think that St. John Chrysostom intended that anyone actually celebrate the liturgy in a nonchalant way or disrespect Christ in the Blessed Sacrament reserved in the tabernacle at church. He preached, I'm not forbidding you to supply these adornments. I am urging you to provide these other things as well, and indeed to provide them first. Do not therefore adorn the church and ignore your afflicted brother, for he is the most precious temple of all. So what are we to do in response to St. John Chrysostom's admonitions? Perhaps we could give some thought to how we spend our disposable income. Do we often eat out, buy luxury items, or spend money on personal adornments without doing anything for the poor? If they were among us today, St. John Chrysostom and St. Lawrence might ask us if we honor and make room for the emerging communities in our midst. Do we welcome immigrants, migrants, and refugees, and try to assist them? De Lexite addresses the plight of these groups. In the letter we read, our response to the challenges posed by contemporary migration can be summed up in 4 verbs: welcome, protect, promote, and integrate. Yet these verbs do not apply only to migrants and refugees. They describe the church's mission to all those living in the existential periphery who need to be welcomed, protected, promoted, and integrated. Pope Francis said, every human being is a child of God. He or she bears the image of Christ. We ourselves need to see and then to enable others to see that migrants and refugees do not only represent a problem to be solved, but are brothers and sisters to be welcomed, respected, and loved. The church, like a mother, accompanies those who are walking. Where the world sees threats, she sees children. Where walls are built, she builds bridges. She knows that her proclamation of the gospel is credible only when it is translated into gestures of closeness and welcome. And she knows that in every rejected migrant, it is Christ himself who knocks at the door of the community. I know that the issues surrounding migrants, immigrants, and refugees are for many divisive, but I would suggest that during this Lent, we might take some time to educate ourselves on our Catholic Church's teaching on these issues by reading recent messages of Pope Leo and our U.S. bishops on the treatment of immigrants, migrants, and refugees in the light of the gospel.